Imagine waking up one day and realizing that everything you believed in, your morals, your values, even your sense of self, was not truly yours. What you thought was truth was merely an illusion, a comforting lie passed down through generations to keep society stable. Would you dare to question it? Would you have the courage to tear apart your own beliefs and face the world without the safety of certainty? Today, we explore the brutally honest wisdom of Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most controversial philosophers in history. His ideas were not just radical, they were dangerous. He challenged morality, religion, and even the very concept of truth itself. Some saw him as a madman, others as a genius. But one thing is undeniable. His words have the power to shake the very foundations of your thinking. And the last revelation I will share today is the most powerful of all. It is an idea so transformative that once you truly grasp it, you may never see the world the same way again. Stay with me until the end. Friedrich Nietzsche was not a philosopher of comfort. He did not seek to make people feel good. He sought to wake them up. He saw the world as it was, brutal, indifferent, and full of illusions. His philosophy was not about seeking happiness, but about embracing struggle, breaking free from imposed beliefs, and creating one's own values. At the core of his philosophy is the idea of the will to power. Unlike other thinkers who believed that humans seek happiness, Nietzsche argued that what truly drives people is the desire to exert power over their lives, to shape reality according to their own will. He believed that all great achievements, whether in politics, art, or personal growth, were born from this fundamental drive. But most people, according to Nietzsche, never fully embrace this power. Instead, they submit to the herd mentality, blindly following societal norms, fearing judgment, and suppressing their true desires in order to fit in. He saw this as a sickness, a form of self-betrayal. He believed that traditional morality, especially religious morality, was created to control people, to keep them weak, obedient, and afraid of questioning authority. Think about your own life for a moment. How many times have you held back from speaking your mind because you feared what others would think? How often have you made choices based on what was expected of you rather than what you truly wanted? Nietzsche would argue that this is slave morality, a mindset that promotes weakness and submission under the guise of being good. It teaches people to value obedience over independence, sacrifice over self-assertion, and guilt over personal growth. But here's the uncomfortable truth. This morality was not designed for your benefit. Nietzsche believed it was created by the weak to control the strong. Instead of encouraging greatness, it forces people to feel guilty for their ambitions. Instead of inspiring individuality, it demands conformity. Instead of pushing people to reach their highest potential, it convinces them to settle for mediocrity. Now, this is where Nietzsche's philosophy takes a radical turn. He did not just want to criticize these ideas, he wanted to destroy them. He argued that to truly live, one must be willing to break free from inherited beliefs, even if it means stepping into complete uncertainty. This is where most people stop. They cling to their old ways, too afraid to let go. But Nietzsche saw this as cowardice. He famously said, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." To him, struggle was not something to be avoided. It was essential. He believed that true strength came from hardship, that growth required pain, and that suffering was not an obstacle but a necessary path to self-mastery. But here's the question. Are you willing to embrace this struggle? Are you ready to break free from the lies that society has fed you since birth? Because if you are, Nietzsche's philosophy offers you something terrifying yet liberating, the chance to create your own meaning. And that brings us to his most shocking declaration. God is dead. This was not just an attack on religion. It was a warning. If the old values no longer hold, what will take their place? If morality was just an illusion, how do we decide what is right? Nietzsche believed that this collapse of traditional beliefs left humanity in a dangerous void. one that could lead either to despair or to greatness. But how do we move forward? What does it mean to live beyond the constraints of inherited morality? This is where Nietzsche's philosophy offers its most powerful and challenging idea, one that may change how you see your own existence forever. If everything you believed in, your morals, your values, your sense of right and wrong, was nothing more than an illusion, how would you live? Would you cling to old beliefs out of fear, or would you dare to create your own path, even if it meant stepping into the unknown? This is the terrifying yet liberating question at the heart of Nietzsche's philosophy. When Nietzsche declared, "God is dead," he was not celebrating. He was warning us. He saw that the world was losing its traditional foundations, that the old religious and moral structures were crumbling. But instead of despairing, he saw this as an opportunity to create a new way of living, not one based on fear, guilt, or blind obedience, but on strength, creativity, and self-overcoming. This brings us to one of Nietzsche's most misunderstood ideas, the Übermensch, or the Overman. This is not just a stronger or smarter version of an ordinary person. The Overman is someone who has broken free from the lies of the past and has created their own values, their own morality, their own meaning. The Overman does not follow the herd, does not seek validation, and does not submit to fear. He embraces life fully, with all of its chaos, suffering, and unpredictability. But Nietzsche knew that most people would never reach this level. He divided humanity into two types, the weak and the strong, the herd and the creators, the slaves and the masters. The weak cling to external authority. They need rules, traditions, and structures to guide them because they are too afraid to take responsibility for their own lives. They live in fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of standing alone. The strong, on the other hand, embrace responsibility. They do not wait for permission to live as they choose. They do not look to religion, society, or tradition to tell them what is right. They decide for themselves. But this is not an easy path. It requires struggle, sacrifice, and the courage to stand alone in a world that demands conformity. Now, ask yourself, are you living as a creator or as a follower? Do you shape your own destiny, or do you let others decide it for you? Do you question the rules, or do you simply obey? Nietzsche believed that the greatest tragedy was not failure, but never having truly lived. Yet this journey is not just about rejecting the old. It is about building something new. And this is where many people misunderstand Nietzsche. He was not simply a destroyer of ideas. He wanted people to replace old illusions with something greater, to create their own values, to forge their own path, to take full control of their existence. This is why Nietzsche rejected the idea of universal morality. He saw morality as something imposed on the weak by those who wished to control them. Instead of following pre-made rules, he believed that each person must craft their own code, one that aligns with their deepest instincts and highest aspirations. But here's where it gets difficult. How do you live without a universal morality? How do you create your own values without falling into complete chaos? This is where Nietzsche's philosophy becomes truly challenging. Most people are not ready for this level of freedom. They would rather be told what to do. They would rather follow the safe and familiar path, even if it means sacrificing their true potential. And this is exactly why Nietzsche saw the Overman as the ultimate goal of human evolution. Not a physical evolution, but a mental and spiritual one. The Overman is someone who has embraced their full potential, who has stopped waiting for meaning to be handed to them, and instead has created it for themselves. But here's the question. Are you ready to take this step? Are you ready to become the creator of your own destiny, or will you remain trapped in the illusions of the past? In the next part, we will uncover one of Nietzsche's most radical and controversial ideas, one that challenges everything we think we know about time, purpose, and the very meaning of existence itself. If everything you do, every decision you make, and every action you take had to be repeated for eternity, would you still live the same way? This is the terrifying question at the heart of Nietzsche's most radical idea, eternal recurrence. Imagine that your life, exactly as it is, will be replayed again and again, endlessly, with no changes, no improvements, no escape. Every joy, every failure, every regret, relived forever. If this were true, would you continue to live as you do now? Or would you change everything? Nietzsche did not present this idea as a literal truth, but as a psychological test, a way to measure whether you are truly living the life you were meant to live. If the thought of repeating your existence fills you with dread, then perhaps you are not living authentically. Perhaps you are still bound by fear, by expectations, by a life that is not fully your own. This is where Nietzsche forces us to confront our deepest anxieties. Most people live as if they have unlimited time. They put off their dreams, silence their true desires, and conform to the expectations of others, assuming that someday, eventually, they will get around to living. But what if that someday never comes? What if this life, exactly as it is the only one you will ever have, forever? To embrace eternal recurrence is to embrace total responsibility for your existence. It is to live in a way that, if you had to do it all again, you would not change a thing. It means living with such intensity, such purpose, that you would be willing to relive every moment eternally. But here's the challenge. Most people are not ready for this level of responsibility. They would rather blame fate, society, or circumstances for their failures. They would rather believe that meaning is given to them rather than something they must create. Nietzsche saw this as the ultimate self-deception. This is why he admired those who did not simply accept life as it was, but had the courage to reshape it. He admired the artists, the warriors, the visionaries, those who refused to let life happen to them and instead impose their own meaning upon the world. He believed that the highest goal of a person is not to seek happiness, but to transform themselves into something greater. Now, think about your own life. If you had to relive it endlessly, exactly as it is, would you rejoice, or would you despair? Are you living in a way that you would willingly repeat for eternity? Nietzsche's challenge is not for the weak. It is not for those who want comfort, security, or easy answers. It is for those who are willing to take full control of their existence, to stop making excuses and to start living with complete and total responsibility. But this is only possible if you can overcome one final obstacle, an enemy more powerful than any external force. That enemy is yourself. In the final part, we will uncover Nietzsche's ultimate lesson, the one that separates the weak from the strong, the followers from the creators, and those who merely exist from those who truly live. If there is one enemy greater than society's expectations, greater than the lies of morality, and greater than the fear of the unknown, it is the enemy within. Nietzsche believed that the greatest struggle in life is not against others, not against fate, not even against suffering, but against oneself. He saw most people as their own worst enemy, trapped by their own minds, enslaved by their own fears, and held back by their own self-imposed limitations. And this is where Nietzsche delivers his final, most powerful lesson. To truly live, you must be willing to destroy yourself. Not physically, but metaphorically. You must be willing to destroy the weak version of yourself, the version that clings to comfort, that avoids responsibility, that hides behind excuses. You must be willing to kill the old you to make way for something greater. This is what Nietzsche meant when he wrote, "Man is something that shall be overcome." He did not believe that humans as they are represent the peak of existence. He saw them as something incomplete, something in transition, a bridge between what is and what could be. And the only way forward is through struggle, transformation, and self-overcoming. Think about a snake shedding its skin. It must rid itself of the old, the dead, the useless in order to grow. If it refuses to do so, It suffocates in its own past. Nietzsche believed that humans are the same. Those who refuse to change, who refuse to evolve, who refuse to confront their weaknesses, these people die long before their bodies do. This is why he admired figures who embraced transformation. Those who constantly push themselves to new heights, who never settled, who refused to be trapped by who they were yesterday. He saw this as the essence of the Übermensch, the next stage of human evolution. Not someone born superior, but someone who has fought, struggled, and risen above their former self. But here's the painful truth. Most people will never take this path. They will choose comfort over greatness. They will choose security over freedom. They will choose to remain as they are rather than become what they could be. And this is what Nietzsche saw as the greatest tragedy of all. Not death, not suffering, not failure, but wasted potential. So ask yourself, are you evolving or are you stagnating? Are you growing or are you decaying? Are you taking control of your life, or are you allowing it to be controlled by others? This is Nietzsche's final and most brutal piece of advice. Stop waiting. Stop hesitating. Stop being afraid. If you want to be free, you must be willing to destroy everything that is holding you back, including your own past self. Because in the end, no one is coming to save you. No God, no government, no philosophy, no external force will give you meaning. The only meaning your life will ever have is the one you create. So the question is, will you create it, or will you let your life slip through your fingers, waiting for something that will never come? The choice is yours. It always has been.